On.
Hi, my name is Captain Barry Floyd, and I'm here today to give a class on conducting an ambush. I have with me the Peanut Gallery and a very distinguished guest, Dr. Ruth.
Hello, Dr. Ruth!
Now, when we're conducting an ambush, there's certain things you want to keep in mind. First of all, you need to know the purpose of your ambush. Do you want to disrupt enemy movement? Are you interested in demoralizing the enemy? Gather intelligence? Seize any equipment that they might have that you can use as an asset for your own operations. Once you determine the purpose of your ambush, you consider the type of ambush. You have a near ambush and a far ambush, most of which consists of small arms, which would be in a near ambush, a coordinated attack, which also has artillery as well as small arms fire, or you can just simply use mortar fire to conduct a far ambush. When you select an ambush site, there's certain things that you need to keep in mind. One is choke points. When you're looking at choke points, what you want to do is you want to funnel the enemy into a narrow corridor. This is either a foot patrol or even a vehicle or mounted patrol. Then you want to look for blind corners in the road. This would be more for a mounted ambush, that the enemy is mounted. Then they turn a corner and you take out the lead vehicle so the rear vehicle cannot see it. Then you concentrate your fires on the main body and you close off the exit. Next type of thing that you need to consider is the cover that you use. Does your area have enough cover for you to be protected? Does it have enough concealment? Does it have cover and concealment? Those are some considerations that you need to take in mind when setting up an ambush. And then, of course, the type of ambush. For us, what we're going to concentrate on is the near ambush. Positioning your personnel and weapons. You concentrate your crew-served weapons on the main body of the enemy that you're going to be attacking. You also want to initiate any attack with the most damage-producing weapon that you have. You can use RPGs, a mine, or other vehicle-destroying munitions if it's going to be a vehicle attack to take out the front or rear vehicles in that particular convoy. If you're after a foot patrol, then you might want to open up your ambush with a crew-served weapon of some type. You also need to place your rear and flank guards. You want to make sure that the enemy doesn't have secondary patrols in the area, so you have somebody guarding the rear of your ambush. You also put out flanking guards in case the enemy tries to regroup and flank your position. The use of claymores or equivalent can be used in a secondary kill sack. By this is you give the enemy an appearance of an escape route. You lace that area with claymore mines or any other kind of munition of that nature, so when they try to retreat from the ambush, you got them again in that secondary kill sack. You initiate the ambush, again as I mentioned before, with the most damage-producing weapon. You use the enemy's equipment against them to box them in the kill sack, i.e. if they have a lead vehicle or a rear vehicle, you take those vehicles out to keep everybody packed in tight. You engage all weapon systems, and you do this with vigor. Everybody fires. Everybody gets involved and takes out as much of the enemy as possible with your small arms. You employ the secondary kill sack when needed. Again, when the enemy starts to retreat or they see a retreating area, that's already laced for the secondary type ambush, and you take the rest of the enemy out. The next thing you need to do after the ambush is completed is you sweep through the area. The main purpose of sweeping through the area is you need to gather intelligence. You must gather the intelligence that you can. What kind of equipment is the enemy using? Is there any type of secure communication that they're using? Any kind of codes, any documentation that you can find that might be of use. You secure any usable equipment or destroy it in place. Another way to destroy stuff in place is simply using white phosphorus grenades or some equivalent thereof, and you make sure that the enemy is denied any use of that equipment in the future. If you're unable to take the equipment with you, that's the best course of action that you have. The next thing you need to do is you need to collect any prisoners if there are any. A successful ambush, you shouldn't have any prisoners. However, some people do tend to survive ambushes, so what you would do is you would render that particular prisoner aid and stabilize them. This is also another source of intelligence. If you have an injured soldier, you can take that particular soldier back, enemy soldier, back to the rear to meet with your intel group, and they can gather any information from that individual that might deem necessary to conduct further missions in our area of operation. Another thing that you need to remember that's vital is to depart the area quickly. Never stay on the objective longer than absolutely necessary. You're assuming that the enemy always has communication. If the enemy has communication, they are able to call in an artillery strike on your position if they know they're being overrun or in an ambush and they know that there's no escape. They want to take as many of you with them as possible. Now, this is critical whenever you're sweeping through the area. You gather your intel, you gather the wounded, and you get out of the area that you've just attacked. And that way it'll avoid any complications, i.e. a mortar or artillery attack on your position. Another thing you need to keep in mind when departing the area is that you leave no trace of where you went, or at least try to make some semblance thereof, to avoid any pursuit that the enemy might have secondary patrols. You've just wasted most of your ammo conducting your attack, so your munitions is probably low and you're really not ready for a sustained attack. Ambushes are meant to be very quick. They're also meant to disrupt the enemy lines, gather intelligence, get in, get out, get gone. In summary, you've got to use overwhelming force. You always use overwhelming force. You absolutely have to. You need to select your positions carefully. You want to make sure that your flanks are guarded, your rear is guarded, and that you have no way of the enemy getting on your position while you're conducting your attack. You initiate with the most damage-producing weapon. This is critical. You do not want to have the least damaging producing weapon. That gives the enemy a chance to regroup and consolidate and retaliate, which is one thing that you do not want to do. Then you sweep. You collect all the intelligence that you possibly can. You gather any prisoners of war. You take care of the injured, and then you get out of the area. You leave. You absolutely have to get out of the area. And on that note, I would like to tell you that a best way to counter an ambush is simply you focus on one point in the ambush that's being conducted toward you, and you attack that one spot. All fire is concentrated on one spot, and you try to break the ambush point. Trying to retreat will only get you in more trouble. So a full frontal attack is what you need to do when you're in an ambush. With that in mind, I'd like to leave you with this video.
Nice ass. We have disrupted the portal. Oh, welcome to the Iraqi. Ah, shit. You okay, Yarbo? No shit came out yet, huh? Did you wipe it? That's the guy. Did I try this in Iraq?
Okay, that concludes my presentation on an ambush. I appreciate your participation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.